am convinced more than ever that Democrats are like raising toddlers. You tell them something over and over and over again, the message is clear, and they just don't want to understand it. They have no interest in learning from their mistakes. And trust me, dealing with a 6 and a 5-year-old, or a 6 and a 3-year-old, and then also an 8-month-old, I know it all too well. Nobody seems to want to learn from their mistakes in my house. And that seems to be going on in Washington, D.C. as well. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Thanks for starting your day with us here on KCMO Talk Radio. When I saw this headline yesterday, early afternoon, I thought to myself, no, it can't be real. This must be somebody screwing with me on the right, somebody putting out some kind of a fake news headline, or I don't know, but there's no way this is real. Well, no, it is real. And that is a movement from Senate Democrats to abolish the Electoral College. Here we go again. Now, the amazing part of this, of course, is Donald Trump won the popular vote. Usually they can say when a Republican wins, yes, the antiquated Electoral College, it must go away, and we must have a popular vote. Because they can run up the numbers in places like L.A., New York, Chicago. Well, that didn't happen. Trump won by a couple million votes. So I'm not really sure why they're doing this. It feels like a major self-own, but that's never stopped them before. So 3 Democratic senators unveiled a constitutional amendment to abolish the Electoral College system yesterday. The senators are Dick Durbin of Illinois, Brian Schatz of Hawaii. Dick and Schatz are going at it from Illinois and Hawaii, and then Peter Welch out of Vermont. Those 3 U.S. senators, 3 leading progressive voices, say it's time, and this is just hysterical, to restore democracy by allowing for the direct election of presidents through the popular vote alone. Everything they do is under the guise of democracy, isn't it? Like they're still doing this, trying to take out, I mean this legally, Donald Trump, although others tried to literally do it, trying to take out Donald Trump through the legal process was somehow part of their restoration of democracy. Everything they do, they put under the umbrella of democracy. Whether it was back in 2020, through Joe Biden's term, till now. Everything is under this lame umbrella of restoring democracy. And I hate to break it to them as I do my Biden whisper. No one's buying it anymore, man. No one's buying it.
Come on, man.
What do you want me to tell you? No one's buying this nonsense. Okay? The senators are troubled that the Electoral College has twice elected a candidate who didn't win the popular vote in the past 19 years. And that would be George W. Bush back in 2000 and Donald Trump in 2016. So they are now and I don't know where this actually goes. I mean, remember, when we get to January, they don't have any power in the Senate, and they don't have any power in the House, and they don't have the White House. So I don't think this is going to go anywhere. But the fact that they're even willing to throw it out there for media fodder, which is really what this is right now, tells me beyond a shadow of a doubt that they have no idea still what happened back on November 5th. It's been, 6-7 weeks since the election, and they're like, you know what we got to do? We've got to introduce bills that make it so the Electoral College isn't a thing anymore. It might have made some sense for you guys back in 2016 when you actually won the popular vote and lost the Electoral College. But a few weeks ago, you lost them both, so what's the point in doing this anyway? Who is this appealing to? That would be my question to Dick and Schatz and Welch. That would be Dick Durbin, Brian Schatz, and Peter Welch, the senators who are pushing this. Who is possibly that person who is on the fence? Maybe that person who voted for Donald Trump. And you've got to win them back over. And you come out and you're like, all right, I know how we're winning back the Trump voters that we lost. The people who voted for Obama and now voted for Donald Trump. I know how we do it. We talk about banning the Electoral College to give more power to major urban centers like New York and L.A. Yeah, that'll do it. And Washington, D.C. and Boston, that'll definitely make you guys a great selling point in places like Erie, Pennsylvania, in places like East Palestine, Ohio, in places like DeSoto, Kansas, in places like, go up to Holt, Missouri, whether it's rural, whether it's exurban, whatever you want to call it, that is not going to be the thing that brings you back into the equation with folks that you have lost. And it's not just the senators that apparently are having the problem here. You also have people like Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton went on a podcast here this week. It's called The Rest is Politics Podcast. And he said this about identity politics. Even Slick Willie isn't understanding.
But there is a war going on in America now, essentially to try to dismantle the politics of inclusive tribalism. That is a politics that treats diversity as an asset. And no one can repeal it, but the idea is to make people around the edges feel that identity is a zero-sum game, not a positive-sum game.
There you go. Bill Clinton on the Rest is Politics podcast. It's a little early for me to break out my Bill Clinton. I don't do a great impression anyway, so I will leave that at the door for the time being. But yes, Bill Clinton, that is true. People are over the idea that your skin color, your gender, or your sexual orientation makes you somehow special. You know what makes you special? Who you are, what you think, what you say, what you bring to the table through your thoughts, through your words, through your beliefs. Not through, hey, have you seen my skin lately? Yeah, no one's interested.
Nobody cares.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that is true, Bill Clinton. I mean, there are people, and I would say there are a majority of Americans who are no longer interested in playing that made-up game. That did work to an extent in 2020, but the pendulum has swung back to the middle. There are a majority of American people who do not view individuals through their race, through their gender, or through their sexual orientation. It might be part of who they are, and that's fine. But this notion of you must vote for somebody based on those things, or you must believe in somebody based on those things. Remember the whole believe all women shtick? Remember that whole thing in the wake of the Me Too movement? Once again, the pendulum swung too far in one direction. You don't believe somebody because of their gender. You don't vote for somebody because of their race. Those are actually anti-American things to do, where we are supposed to all be equal under the law, and the best ideas, the best candidates, the best policies end up winning. We are getting back to that kind of a world. Now, don't kid yourself. The pendulum can swing back the other direction. That's how it goes in America. You can't get overly confident and overly cocky if you're, a Trump voter or a Republican. You can't do that because, trust me, Democrat is going to be in the White House again. They might win the House in a couple of years. That's just how it works. But you have to use this moment in time to also sell yourself on why your ideas and why your future for America is the best for the country and the best for the majority of the American people. Coming up on KCMO Talk Radio, the drones. Well, the government has put out another official statement on this, and Donald Trump has talked about something he is not going to do this weekend because of the drones. We'll tell you what that is coming up on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming all morning long on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Oh, I know you're wondering and trying to figure out what the heck's going on with these drones flying over various parts of the country, but do not worry. The FBI is on it. The FAA would never let you down, and the Department of Defense is definitely going to make sure that everything is being handled on the up and up, right? I mean, that's, yeah, I know. It's hysterical. So there's been a lot of commentary on this, of course, the last few days, people trying to get an answer to these drones that are most prominent right now in parts of the New Jersey and New York area. But they're happening in California and in different parts of the country. Nothing notable here in Kansas City, although some of you texted in yesterday and said that Paola's got a drone problem lately. So I don't know what's going on down in Paola. Keep your eyes out up there, okay? Let us know what's happening down in old Paola. So the DHS, FBI, FAA, and DOD, Department of Defense, put out a joint statement on the ongoing response to reported drone sightings. This came out at 9 p.m. last night. Was this supposed to make everybody feel better? Was everyone supposed to be like, oh, don't worry, the old three-letter agencies are on it, we'll be just fine? Anyway, their statement read as follows. There are more than 1 million drones lawfully registered with the FAA in the United States, and there are thousands of commercial, hobbyist, and law enforcement drones lawfully in the sky on any given day. With the technological landscape evolving, we expect that number to increase over time. Nothing to see here.
Fact checkers, I wondered where they went.
Yeah.
Guess I got a new job there.
Yeah, I guess they're all working for the FBI and FAA now, suddenly.
I love the silly explanation. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's just some stars and a few fighting kites. And
you know what's going to happen here in about a week and a half? They're going to say, well, it looks like a lot of people got drones for Christmas. I mean, that's obviously what's going on.
Yeah.
They're just flying all over the place. Must have been a popular Christmas gift this year. FBI
well, you can get them at any convenience store.
Yeah, you go down to Quick Trip, pick up your Big Gulp and a drone. That's how it goes, right? FBI has received tips of more than 5,000 reported drone sightings in the last few weeks, approximately 100 leads generated, and the federal government is supporting state and local officials in investigating these reports. Consistent with each of our unique missions and authorities, we are quickly working to prioritize and follow these leads. We have sent advanced detection technology to the region, and we have sent trained visual observers. We assess that the sightings to date include a combination of lawfully commercial drones, hobbyist drones, and law enforcement drones, as well as manned fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, and stars mistakenly reported as drones. There it is, John.
Yeah.
You're just seeing stars and helicopters. You're just an idiot. You see? Don't worry. We got your back here at the FBI, DOD, FAA, and DHS. Same people that just opened up the border to 10 million people the last 4 years and told you the border was secure are now like, don't worry, you're just seeing things. Don't believe your lying eyes.
I see it out there as a formation. That's the Big Dipper.
Now, there's no doubt there are some of those people out there. I do not deny that, okay?
Right, they can blend that all in as plausible.
Yes, they can. And those people do exist. Trust me. John hears from them on the phones.
Well, they get calls hourly, no doubt.
Yes. But that is not an excuse for not answering what clearly is something highly suspicious. Okay, drones from hobbyists and commercial operations didn't just show up 1 month ago when suddenly, en masse, folks in New Jersey and New York started seeing drones all over the place, right above their homes. That didn't just happen. It's not like a bunch of drone hobbyists decided, you know what, we're going to start going bonkers here just in this part of the country and having a grand old time. You know and I know that's not how this goes. So the FBI puts out in this statement through Homeland Security and the FAA, they wrap it up. It's a lengthy statement, classic government fashion. They're getting paid by the word, I think, here. That said, we recognize the concern among many communities. We continue to support state and local authorities with advanced detection technology and support of law enforcement. Okay, local authorities are saying they don't know what's going on and the feds aren't giving them answers. You've got the governors of these states, New Jersey and New York, saying they don't know what's going on. And they're not getting any answers. And the feds are saying, don't worry, we're working very closely with the states to help them. And the state's like, help us with what? We're turning to you, trying to get some answers here. They wrap up the statement saying, additionally, there have been a limited number of visual sightings of drones over military facilities in New Jersey and elsewhere, including within restricted airspace. Such sightings near or over Department of Defense installations are not new. The DOD, Department of Defense, takes unauthorized access over its airspace seriously and coordinates closely with federal, state, and local law enforcement authorities as appropriate. So they're admitting that these drones are over military facilities within restricted airspace. But they say that these are not new developments. Well, that's kind of concerning too, is it not? So what's Trump have to say about this? Trump was down at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. He did a press conference, and he admitted there is something he is not doing this weekend in response to all this drone activity that nobody seems to have answers to.
First of all, good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey and the ports? And it seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth? They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
That, of course, Bedminster being Donald Trump's golf club in New Jersey. He says they're very close to Bedminster. I won't be going up there this weekend. Probably a smart move. Better safe than sorry. Plus, the weather this year is a lot better in Mar-a-Lago than it is at Bedminster. I don't think he was going anyway. No one in the right mind would spend the December in New Jersey over Florida, but we'll save that conversation for another day. On the text line, Pete, this is all possibly to justify the outlawing of drones or requiring a pilot license to fly one. I don't know if that's part of the equation, but you did hear from Alejandro Mayorkas the other day, and he came out on the Sunday shows, and he's like, yeah, you know, our hands are tied. We can't shoot them down, and, you know, I don't know. We just we need more rules and regulations to get any answers on this stuff. Yes, the government needs more power to figure out what the heck is going on. That was basically the pitch from DHS Secretary, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. I don't buy that for a second. That's a convenient excuse from a government hack looking for more power. As Trump said, they know what's going on, and for some reason, they don't want to tell us, but the people deserve to know. They're not doing themselves any favors. But you know what? This whole administration is ending exactly how it started, with a whimper. 6:35, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Thanks for being here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. One of the most important parts of my job is having to comb through what is left of the Kansas City Star so you don't have to do it. It is a very important part of this role. I view it as a public service here in Kansas City, and sometimes it's comical, sometimes it is infuriating, sometimes it is just dumb and bizarre. It is rarely ever succinct. Sometimes there's some good journalisming going on, but typically the top stories, the top conversations that come out of the daily newspaper in this town, it's not even daily, I can't say that, the 6-day-a-week newspaper in this town that is printed up in Des Moines is not all that impressive. So I want to bring you this piece here on a Tuesday morning that is about the poor man Sean Brady, bar owner, who was shot and killed outside of his restaurant in Brookside a couple of months back. You may recall what happened, and if not, I'll reset the story for you here. Sean Brady walked out to his car and saw that a couple of what appeared to be teenagers, but young men, were basically burglarizing his vehicle. He tried to stop them, and it cost him his life. Now, what since has happened is that one teenager has had the charges dropped against him. So there's one teenager who is still in custody, but there's one teenager who is no longer in custody. The Jackson County Juvenile Detention Center decided to drop charges against him, deciding that He was not going to be charged, and he at least had no serious involvement in whatever happened that day in Brookside. So, okay, I mean, that's how the system works, right? I mean, you can get charged with something, and after some further investigation, it ends up that you are not going to be a person who, frankly, should be charged with anything. That's how things happen. That's how it goes, right? I mean, I don't see that as being it stinks if you're somebody who gets arrested, but why did the police arrest you to begin with? Why were you a subject of this investigation? Well, you'd think that if the Kansas City Star was going to write a fluff piece about this, that they would maybe have some of those answers. But that is not what happened here in this opinion piece by Toriano Porter, headlined, "Shouldn't a teen released for a crime he didn't do get attention from city officials?" So I will take you through this, maybe a little somber music as we go through this, Mark, if we could together, please. Thank you very much for that. All right, here we go. One of the first things you notice about the teen released in the fatal shooting of a popular Kansas City Irish restaurant owner and chef is the boy's warm and inviting smile. Don't get me wrong. I had to poke and prod the young fella to get him to flash his toothy grin. He eventually did. And those piercing eyes stand out too. His glare is not a menacing one, though. There's a hint of innocence and sadness in his gaze. He has a thick mustache that bellies his youthfulness. He's only 17. Despite the hoodie, I could tell he had a head full of jet black hair underneath the garment. To protect the young man's identity, I will refer to him as LM in this column and will not use his mother's name. Although the teen was charged with second-degree murder, attempted theft of a motor vehicle, and armed criminal action in connection with the fatal shooting of restaurateur Sean Brady, the Jackson County Juvenile Court recently dismissed all charges without public notice. According to Matthew Merriman, the teen's attorney. Keeping the hoodie intact was understandable. On the day we met, the temperature outside hovered just about freezing. There was a slight draft inside Merriman's law office in Westport. It took a while for the teen to warm up to my line of questioning, but who could blame the lad for being closed off to a relative stranger? He'd spent more time than 3 months behind what his mother described as a cage for a crime evidence clearly showed he did not commit. When Brady was fatally shot in the parking lot of the Brookside Eatery that he co-owned, some of Jackson County's top elected officials were very vocal about the gun violence that led to Brady's death. Understandably so. Within the hours of the shooting, LM and another teen identified in court documents as 15-year-old KH were taken into custody. As of this writing, KH remained in juvenile custody and the investigation remains open. Among those expressing dismay at the shooting were Jackson County Prosecutor Gene Peters Baker, Prosecutor-elect Melissa Johnson, and Mayor Quinton Lucas. After Sean Brady died, each of them made public statements in one form or another regarding the tragedy, writes Toriano Porter in the Kansas City Star. Where was the same public show of support for LM when criminal charges were dropped against the teen? So this is the point of contention that the Kansas City Star has this morning. At least Toriano Porter has this morning. He wants to see Mayor Lucas, Gene Peters Baker, Melissa Johnson all talk about a teenager who saw charges dropped against him in the killing of Sean Brady. In the same fashion that they talked about Sean Brady, the man who lost his life tragically and innocently a few months ago in this town, in broad daylight. Now, you'd think that somewhere in this piece, Toriano Porter would write what happened that led up to this young man being arrested. Now, if he wasn't involved in the murder of Sean Brady, then yes, charges should be dropped and he should be a free young man. But you'd think there would be some investigation into and some sharing with the public as to what led up to this. They imply in this piece that basically this young man was just walking down the street, and you know the insinuation here, wink, wink, nod, nod. Cops just arrested him, probably because of what he looked like.
Well, his attorney said he was the first one, I think, that they saw.
Yes, you're right. Yes, the cops just apparently were driving around Kansas City looking for somebody to arrest in the wake of the killing of Sean Brady, and they just found this 17-year-old kid on the street corner, and they said, hey, you, get in the back of the cop car. And they arrest him, and they charge him with second-degree murder, and then they're like, oh, I guess we got the wrong guy. The insinuation and the insulting way that the attorney in this case, Merriman down in Westport, and in this case, the Kansas City Star and Toriana Porter talk about the police in this town as if they just willy-nilly pulled the kid off the streets and said, hey, we think you're guilty of murder, and there's nothing you can do about it, and only by the grace of God is he a free man today, is quite an insult to the legal system in this town and to law enforcement in this town. But that's nothing new, of course, for members of the Kansas City Star editorial board. But at no point as I read through this piece, and I'm not going to read any more of it, I thought I might learn something, right? I thought there might be something that is shared with us, the public, that led to this individual getting arrested, even though it was a wrongful arrest. But no, that was never shared. And it makes you wonder why, because if there was something that would back up their side of the argument as to why this guy was wrongfully arrested and then wrongfully charged, you know it would be in the piece. But that conveniently is left out, John.
Yeah, it's not like they're saying, well, he was with 6 buddies at a youth group here, and they all vouched for him.
Yes.
So it doesn't seem to be mistaken identity. There must be some connection. Because, JPB down there doesn't just throw charges around.
No, that is exactly right. And it just wraps up here. I mean, my gosh, it's just total fluff, pure propaganda from the Kansas City Star. LM, as he's called because he's a minor, said his favorite food is pizza. After his release from juvenile custody, the first stop the teen made with his family was to a local Chuck E. Cheese pizzeria to celebrate the birthday of a close relative. I'll take the young man to get some real pizza sometime if he wants, I guess. Not Casey's, I promise you that. Sorry there, Casey's pizza lovers. But we'll find some real pizza for him at some point. But my gosh, I mean, if the guy was wrongfully charged, okay, that's horrible. That's what the legal system is intended to do. Get a good lawyer to prove that you are not part of this heinous crime. But there is nothing factually, not one thing factually shared in this piece that we learned in terms of how this individual ended up getting arrested. And that is going to be something I work on this week, try to work through my sources to figure out what exactly led to this teenager's arrest, because something tells me the Kansas City Star is hiding something. The notion that they just picked this kid up on the street corner and said, hey, you look like you might be someone who would kill Sean Brady, and then had him in the can for a couple of months, that is so disingenuous. But it also is what the Kansas City Star does because they want to make police in this town look like garbage. That is basically their role. That is their job. And frankly, that is largely what they're interested in doing. 913-408-7957. That is the text line here on KCMO. Pete, I bet they don't even get a conviction on the other teen. I read that air quotes article. It said nothing, pure propaganda. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. That's all it was. On the text line, Pete, looks like Toriana Porter dusted off one of his old fiction writing 101 assignments. Oh, very nice job. Oh, gosh. Pete, I sold the Star door to door back in the 90s. The tales equal to any fiction by Mark Twain. Oh, my gosh. You guys are on fire. That's pretty good. Pretty good for before 7 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. Save some of the content for Tirade Tuesday. That'll be at 8:30 today on KCMO. It's your chance to rant and rave about whatever you want. And if you're at the office, if you're working from home by then, guess what? Just pull us up on the stream, KCMOTalkRadio.com, or on your Alexa or your Google Home. Just tell it to play KCMO Talk Radio. Speaking of bizarre propaganda, politics mixing with culture, Do you see a Supreme Court justice is now on Broadway? I am not kidding you. It is too good to be true. I've got the audio and the details coming up next. I think I know what I'm getting John and Mark for Christmas. We're doing a little boys trip to New York City. We'll go to this Broadway musical, & Juliet. It's a queer reimagining of the William Shakespeare classic Romeo and Juliet. You guys in?
Boys trip.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Let's go, fellas. Let's go. No, we're not going to like a Chiefs road game or something like that. We're all going to New York. We're piling in, and we'll do a road trip in the car. And we'll go to New York, and we'll see Broadway's & Juliet, starring Ketanji Brown Jackson of the Supreme Court. So you guys pack your bags. We're going come 2025. We can get a fill-in host for a couple of days, and we'll
I'll
be
bring
on
the sandwiches.
Oh, my gosh. Work out a good fill-in host. We'll have somebody run the board and produce, and we will track our road trip on like Instagram Live and TikTok and places like that. You guys can follow us there. So I gave it away, but that's the Christmas gift for John and Mark this year. So that'll be fun. Yes, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who infamously, when she was getting confirmed as a Supreme Court justice, said that she could not define a woman because she's not a biologist, is now on Broadway. And she made her debut on Saturday night in the musical & Juliet. And before I play some of Ketanji Brown Jackson's hits from that night, I'll give you a little summary of what this musical & Juliet on Broadway is all about. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Justin David Sullivan. I use the pronouns he, she, and they, and I play Juliet's best friend, May. May goes on a journey of self-discovery, finds love, and explores their gender identity.
I am fiercely proud that there are characters in this show that are in conversation with queer representation and what it means to find love in a way that perhaps is often seen as unconventional.
Okay. So, yeah, there you go. That is the musical & Juliet that is starring Ketanji Brown Jackson. That is now on Broadway. That will now be part of our boys trip in 2025. And Ketanji Brown Jackson made her debut on Saturday night. And here are some of the highlights or lowlights, depending on how you want to look at it.
Female empowerment. Sick. I like it too. I think what I like about it is that I am having a very strongly negative reaction to it. Like I hate it. Which makes me think it must be brilliant. Got this feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body. I can't stop the feeling. I did it. I made it to Broadway.
Yes, Ketanji Brown Jackson. So we got a little golf applause, or we can skip it too. That's fine. It just doesn't matter to me. Now, she's not expected to be there on the regular. This & Juliet has been on Broadway for the last few years, and what it does is it explores the world of Romeo and Juliet, in which Juliet didn't kill herself after discovering her star-crossed lover Romeo dead from suicide at the end of the tragic play. From there, Juliet seeks love again and heads to Paris with a non-binary character, only to later get tangled in a love triangle. So, yes, this is very deep stuff coming out of Broadway these days. And Ketanji Brown Jackson made her what we believe to be one-time appearance over the weekend, and now the audio came out, so we've got something to work with here. Well, I'm starting to think, and I've got this wild idea, I think Ketanji Brown Jackson, I think she's very good at what she does there on Broadway. I believe she should go into Broadway full-time. I think she should retire from the Supreme Court during Donald Trump's term in office, and then Donald Trump can name a replacement for Ketanji Brown Jackson. I think that has to happen for the good of the country And Ketanji really seemed to be hitting her stride there in the clips that I saw. So I believe it's very important for her to continue to pursue her passion, to find what she loves to do. It's never too late to be a Broadway star, and she's only going to get better. Her services are no longer needed at the Supreme Court. She's missing the boat, not going to Broadway. So I'm here to encourage Ketanji Brown Jackson to be a Broadway star and to leave any time after January 20th, 2025, ideally before January of 2029, and we'll take care of you on the other side. All right? So I'm just here to cheer on Ketanji and make sure that she is doing exactly what she needs to do to fill that role on Broadway and pursue the passions that she truly has. Oh, my gosh. Now, meantime, over the weekend, Bobby Witt Jr. got married. Woo! Congratulations, Bobby. He got married to his high school girlfriend, Maggie Black, on Saturday. Thompson Hotel in Dallas. 300 guests were there, including the entire Royals team. Maggie is a personal trainer. I'm reading this from People magazine. Yeah, I'm a regular over there. John and Mark are always like, why are you reading People magazine? This is where you get the when you're done, Pete. Yeah, this is where you get the great information here. For those of you wondering, for the females in the audience, Black walked down the aisle in an Elizabeth Lee bridal gown. That means nothing to me, but maybe it means something to you. She completed her bridal look with a Christian Louboutin shoes. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Never heard of it. And jewelry by Happy Jewelers. Mags. Should have gone to Diamonds Direct. What a mistake. But we'll let it slide. So the bigger picture here is this. The two biggest superstars in this town are married and married to their high school sweethearts. That is a recipe for success. Think about it. The biggest star in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, is about to welcome his third child with his high school sweetheart, who he is married to. It's not one of these like 10-year engagement fiance type situations. No, they're actually married. Bobby Witt Jr., all of 24 years old, is now married to his high school sweetheart as well. They began dating in high school after as People magazine writes here, Smitten Witt asked Maggie Black's best friend for her schedule so he could transfer into her physics class. Yeah, that's serious attraction if you want to join a physics class to go hang out with a girl. I mean, there's a lot of things I do. I'm not sure I'd transfer into a physics class to take a shot.
I'd go home at first.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, can you try meeting her at the locker, see if there's any kind of chemistry there before you transfer into a physics class?
That's
my
kind
gosh.
Of a commitment.
That is serious. So anyway, it's unique when you think about it that Bobby Witt Jr., who is one of the, I would call him, what would you guys say, top 10 star in Major League Baseball? Maybe not top 5, but top 10 star in Major League Baseball?
Definitely. After last year, I think he's verging on top 5.
He may be top 5 when all is said and done. He's got a $300 million contract in tow, and he's now married to a high school sweetheart. Patrick Mahomes, biggest star in the NFL, married with kids to a high school sweetheart. Now, you might say, well, what's the big deal? Have you followed professional sports? What's Tyreek Hill? He just had his 11th kid with his 7th baby mama. I might be off.
30 for 30, I think.
Yeah, pretty close.
I mean, I might be off by 1 or 2 kids and 1 and 2 baby mamas, but you get the point here. Okay, it is rare to have these kind of values in your superstar athletes in 2024. And not only does Kansas City have it with its superstars, these are not just superstars in Kansas City. These are global superstars now, right? It's not like these guys are, they're stars here, but they're on garbage teams and they're not any good and no one outside of this town really cares about them. That's not the case with either of these guys. They are role models on the field, and at least thus far, until proven otherwise, they are role models off the field. And we always talk about the golden age of Kansas City sports over the last decade, and there's no doubt that is true. But it's extra special when you've got guys who actually are able to live lives, admirable lives, off the field, just like they are on the field. And it's pretty rare. Go around to most major American cities, look at the biggest sports stars, and first off, their teams are not nearly as good as our teams. Go to New York, look at the Jets and the Giants. They stink. You want to deal with Aaron Rodgers and all his craziness? Please, I'm a hard pass there. Go down to Miami, Tyreek Hill, pass. L.A., LeBron James, no thanks. Where you been, LeBron? People are wondering what his future might be. No party like a Diddy party, right, LeBron? Just saying. You look at some of the situations out there and around the country, and it does not get better than what you've got here in Kansas City. And it's not just about the quality of the team. It's about the quality of the stars off the field. So with that, we say congratulations to Bobby Witt Jr. We wish him a life of happiness in his marriage to Maggie Black. And we will excuse the fact that Maggie decided not to go to Diamonds Direct for her jewelry for her big wedding over the weekend. And speaking of the Royals, just while it's on my mind here as we take you through the 7 o'clock hour, former general manager, now special assistant to the GM down with the Texas Rangers, Dayton Moore, is going to be on the show coming up on Friday for our featured Friday 9 a.m. segment. So do not miss that here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Scoop late last night from Axios. Missouri U.S. Senator Josh Hawley pushing for a huge increase to child tax credit. Josh Hawley here in Missouri is making a big opening bid in the 2025 tax battle, calling for the child tax credit to increase from a maximum of $2,000 to a maximum of $5,000 per kid. Mark's all fired up. Woo! You going to have a fourth kid now, Mark?
Let's go. No, but this would be good for 3.
You sure, Mark? You just turned 40.
I'm good.
No better time than now, man.
Yeah.
How old's your wife?
She's good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Is she your age or younger?
She's a few years younger.
Oh, she is? Mm-hmm. Oh, plenty of time. Plenty of time. You're a young man. Let's go. I say that 4 years younger than Mark, also on number 3. I think I'm done as well, Mark. Once you go to 4, you got to figure out how to fit them all in the car. You need the third row vehicle. It starts to add up, you know? But hey, Josh Hawley gets a $5,000 a kid tax credit. Nah, I'm kidding. Can't do it. Too much going on right now. Finally starting to get some sleep with the little one at 9 months old. So your mind starts to play tricks on you, though, doesn't it? I might be able to. No. It's like, you got those 2 characters on either shoulder talking into your ear.
Just say no.
Just say no. Ain't that the truth? So a plan, writes Axios, could cost $2 to $3 trillion over 10 years. I love it. Right? I love how Axios, which is a left of center, to put it politely, online publication, a plan to allow you to keep your own money as a parent in America, dealing with all the rising costs that parents are dealing with right now in this country. A plan could cost $2 to $3 trillion over 10 years. Well, there's 2 things that stand out to me. Could is number 1, because you could also outgrow, economically speaking, those $2 to $3 trillion over 10 years. So we're really talking about $200 billion a year. And in the end, what it really is American parents keeping their own money that they have rightfully earned by doing things like going to work, running a business, earning a salary, right? That's what it is. But they always frame it under the guise of, well, it's going to cost money. No, it just means you might get less. You might get less. Wow, I'm sorry your dirty, filthy, grubby government hands might get less money as you guys collect trillions and trillions of dollars from us every year, including record amounts of government revenue over the last few years.
And this money we'll get back for our kids will go back into the economy.
Well, that's a good point. It will go back into the economy in some way, shape, or form. You will pay sales tax dollars on that money that you spend on your kids. Or if you do this crazy thing, if you want to, called Invest It, that's also good for the economy. Yeah. Whoa, that's
sounds patriarchal.
Yeah, you can't be doing that. You got to rely on the government and Social Security to take care of you. That's what we want to do, says the big bad bureaucracy. So Axios goes on the right here. After a child is born, Hawley is proposing to let parents claim a credit for the tax year of the pregnancy. Hawley proposal speaks to the GOP's desire to adopt pro-family policies. I mean, this is so comical. Listen to that sentence again. Hawley's proposal speaks to the GOP's desire to adopt pro-family policies. As if, GOP just realizes it's out of touch and needs to be more pro-family. I'm pretty sure a large part of their policies are pro-family. That's why they win married men and married women. Donald Trump got the majority of married people to vote for him. So I'm pretty sure the people believe that their policies are already pretty pro-family. What a gaslighting way to explain this proposal that is from Axios.
Well, there might be a change of heart on the left, too, about the point of conception being a child.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because he is including the year of pregnancy in this tax break.
Yeah.
We
Now
can't have that.
to prove it.
Yeah. That's just a clump of cells now.
Can't wait till the third trimester there. Can you?
Yeah, seriously. Hawley's proposal also speaks to the Republicans' desire, writes Axios, to outflank Democrats on anti-poverty programs. Hawley tells Axios these are the people, working class people with families, who elected Donald Trump, and we need to deliver real and meaningful tax relief to them. Now, to be clear, J.D. Vance proposed this idea of a $5,000 tax credit back in August. Right now, that maximum of $2,000. During COVID, there was a year or two there, and I'll need an accountant to confirm this, but there was a $3,600 per kid tax credit. But that was temporary under one of the COVID bills. So this would permanently make it $5,000 per kid. Mark's texting his wife, trying to convince her to have a fourth. I can see it right now on the other side of the glass. No, she's yelling at you. I know. I know what's going on back there. Don't try to tell me otherwise.
She said she's been up since I left for work. Stop it.
I don't want to hear from you.
It's $50 to make 5,000, though.
Yeah, well,
something like that.
Yeah. This says here, the plan would allow families to receive the tax credits in regular installments throughout the year rather than a lump sum during tax season. I won't get into the nitty-gritty on this stuff. I'll let the accountants handle that for all of us. I just know this much. It is it's a good proposal, generally speaking, because the people who have been hit the hardest by inflation, not the boomers not saying everyone hasn't been hit hard, but when you got young kids right now and kids of any age, it's hitting hardest.